Hi lovelies, it's Jess and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all having a really beautiful week. Hello Sleepy Winston, who's currently sunbaking on the armchair. So as you can tell, my videos are probably a little bit different for the next few weeks because my state has been in lockdown for quite a few months now. So I'm filming again all by my lonesome self, but I hope you still like these videos, and I wanted to do a little honest chat with Jess, a Q&A. Basically, I've just had a lot of questions come through about how I've been best managing this year, so sharing my favorite resources, practical tips, advice, strategies for maintaining a positive mindset and looking after your well-being and mental health and still managing to be as productive as you possibly can. So I've put together a list of 14 things that I have found really beneficial for helping me get through this year. And not really just to get through it, because that does sound quite negative, but really these things have helped me to make the most out of this year and still make sure that I'm getting things done and enjoying. And of course I have my highs and lows, so I'm going to talk about that as well and the sort of things that have helped me. So here is my list, and I would love if you would share some things that have been helping you, and we can just have in the comment section of this video a huge brainstorm of different strategies and helpful tools and resources that we can all look into and rely on for the next little while, just to make sure that we're all supporting each other as much as we possibly can. Right, so the first thing that has really been beneficial for me is meditation. I've talked about the different apps I've tried in the past, and as a lot of you know, I use the Calm meditation app. I just really like guided meditations, especially if my mind is a bit more restless. And I've written down here also, there's Smiling Mind, Headspace. Gabrielle Bernstein, who's one of my favorite authors, also has some beautiful meditations, so you can check out her work and her book. And of course, my old yoga studio were doing 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation every morning at 10 AM. So I was following them on Instagram and doing that too. So maybe some of your local yoga studios are still putting out resources online and different digital classes, so make sure you look into that. Now, the second thing I wanted to mention though are some really helpful Instagram accounts, because social media, as we know, can be a wonderful place, and it can also cultivate a lot of negativity, self-comparison, and a whole lot of other things. I wanted to share some different accounts that I follow that give me some peace of mind and comfort when I really need it. So here I have written down, of course, Gabrielle Bernstein, Marissa Peer, who is UK's #1 hypnotherapist and talks a lot about self-love, self-compassion, and feeling like you are enough. So I've actually done her online course and rave about her a lot actually. And I also follow an account called My Self-Love Supply. So if you follow me on Instagram at Study with Jess, I often share their posts to my Instagram stories. Also Jay Shetty, because I also really love his podcast On Purpose, and I'm going to talk about him a little bit more in one of the next tips. So there are some helpful accounts you might like to follow as well, add a bit of positivity and support to your social media repertoire. Another thing I wrote down are online classes. So I still really enjoy doing online classes, even though it's not the same as face-to-face workouts. So I have been practicing Pilates online. I have a friend of mine, Go Clo Pilates, check her out. We did a little giveaway on Instagram recently, a health and wellness collab, and it was really fun. I was also doing some online yoga with Yoga with Adrian. I haven't really been doing a lot of that. I tend to just do my own thing when I want to practice yoga because I've done it for so long. And I also joined my old dance studio. I really wanted to get back into dance, and I was so disappointed that we couldn't go into class, but they actually did an unlimited monthly membership with Zoom online classes. So I did try those out. So make sure that you're still being active and not just being very complacent with your workouts if you can't go into a studio and work out face to face. The fourth thing I want to talk about is also a little bit of a reframing exercise. So rather than thinking about everything you can't do, it's about looking forward to the things that you soon will be able to do, and also taking stock of everything that you currently can enjoy. So I actually made a list and I wrote down all the things that I can currently do at home and around the house, in the garden, when going for walks. And it really did remind me that there's actually a lot of things that I can enjoy to occupy my time. And then I've also got a list of everything I can look forward to, like going to the hairdresser or getting a massage or having friends over. So instead of saying I can't do any of these things, it's really a shift in perspective or your mindset, and you're actually telling yourself, hey, I'm really looking forward to when I can do all of these other things. Look at all the wonderful things I can look forward to in the coming months. Now, a little mention of podcasts as my fifth resource to touch on. I've really been enjoying sitting on the balcony getting some early afternoon sun most days because it's spring now and I'm so happy. We had a very cold winter, so just let me enjoy the warmth and the fact that I'm in a singlet and a light cardigan today. It's the best. So I've been listening to, of course, Jai Shetty's podcast On Purpose. I really, really highly recommend that you check that out. I actually just ordered his book, Think Like a Monk. I got a signed copy from Booktopia or Book Depository, very excited. Another thing that I wrote down was Sahara Rose has a beautiful podcast called The Highest Self Podcast. And I just listened to, it was a really good episode with Jai Shetty on it, which is how I discovered them. It's called Almost 30. So their podcast has a lot of great episodes to listen to. And Adam's really been enjoying a podcast called The Resilience Project. So speaking of 2020 and all the chaos that has been, resilience is a really important thing to be cultivating at the moment, along with flexibility and a whole lot of other great characteristics or traits. So you might like to check that one out too. Now, the sixth thing I wrote down though were, these aren't really resources as much as just a really effective and fun and easy way to shift into a more positive mindset and also switch off from the negativity. So it's to watch comedy shows. And someone was mentioning to me that there has been an absolute spike in people watching sitcoms like Friends and The Office or Curb Your Enthusiasm, or even just your favorite old shows that you used to watch and binge watch. So I've been watching The Office US with Adam for the umpteenth time, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I don't know, just any other fun things that came onto Netflix. Last night there was another comedy special that I watched, which my parents raved about as well, Michael McIntyre. He's just so funny. So I think it's really important that rather than spending so much of our time consuming negative news online, it's about focusing on the positive things that we can feed our mind. Now, I've also had a lot of people mentioning that they feel this sense of being out of control. So another thing that's helped me is to focus on everything I can control, and great ways to exercise control can include decluttering, organizing, scheduling your days, and even just making a list of everything that is within your control, from the time that you wake up to going to bed, your morning routine, what you eat, how many hours a day you work, or how you work out. There's actually a lot within our days that we can control for. It's just that this year has felt all-encompassing and like a lot of things or everything is out of our control, so it's important to have a really clear perspective on that. And speaking of control, I've still been sticking to my morning routine, so trying to wake up consistently around 7:30 in the morning, and I'll avoid social media, all that stuff. But check out one of my recent videos where I shared my updated morning routine, and there's also a video with 10 things that successful people do to have a great morning. So watch those videos if you want some more tips on how to productively start your day. And of course, because we are spending so much time indoors, it's really important to get fresh air. And I've noticed the days where I do get outside, whether it's sitting on the balcony in the sunshine or going for a longer walk with Adam and Winston, that it has such a beautiful and positive effect on my mental health and also my mood. And if you think about vitamin D, it is a natural mood booster. It boosts our cellular health and our immune system. So there's so many benefits for getting outside and getting fresh air and some sunshine. We're basically, what's that quote on Instagram? You're basically like a houseplant, but just needing higher maintenance. Or you're just basically a higher maintenance houseplant. You need sunlight and water and care. I think it's something like that. Comment below if you've seen those posts. Something to do with you're basically like a houseplant. A more complicated one. Now, I'm also trying to limit my social media consumption, which is tricky if you are always home and don't have a lot to do. So I've been reading a lot more in the afternoon and evenings, and I'm currently reading a book called Phosphorescence. So it's essentially how to cultivate light from within, and there's lots of beautiful ways to do that, from focusing on community to getting outdoors to noticing the little things, and she talks about mindfulness. It's a really lovely book, and the cover reminds me of my favorite childhood book, The Rainbow Fish, because it's all shimmery. I actually got a copy for my mum as well, so we're both reading it at the same time and we can discuss it. But that's what I'm currently reading. I also wanted to mention a book though by Marie Forleo called Everything is Figure-Outable. So having this can-do attitude of extreme optimism in these challenging times is essential. And I just ordered, which I mentioned earlier, a copy of Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, and I'm very excited for that too. Now I feel like the next thing is a bit of a given, but it's to minimize your news consumption, and that's something that I have found really helpful, because if I check the news every day and read how many cases and how many deaths and what the restrictions are, it's just way too much for me to take on every day. It really does dull my mood. So I really try not to look at the news every day or watch it on TV very often. So that's something that might help you too, especially if you're feeling quite anxious or stressed. And I've also been focusing a lot on hobbies. So if you've seen some previous videos of mine, I think last week's video was a collaboration with Dremel where I showed you my updated office tour and some fun DIYs I've made for the room. Although my background has changed slightly, I tried to keep it very minimal for filming. So that was really fun to make. And yeah, I've just been doing candle making, DIYs, plant propagating, drawing, watercolor. The more creativity, the better for your mental health. And then the last two things I wanted to cover, it's all about connection and support. So I was having a chat with my business coach a couple weeks ago, and he asked me, is there anything that you would otherwise be doing if you didn't have these restrictions? And I mentioned, yeah, you know, things like having brunch with my girlfriends or family dinners. And he made a really good point, which is to still schedule in those activities or appointments. It's just that we have to be more creative and perhaps more proactive about how we go about these things. So still scheduling in that time to catch up with loved ones, but doing it virtually. So I'm still having my brunch on a Saturday morning with my girlfriends. We're just doing it over FaceTime or Zoom, and it really helps you to stay connected because we are social beings. So it is essential to our mental health and overall well-being. And the other thing I wanted to mention, of course, is if you feel like you are struggling and you need added support, of course, please do reach out to your support network, whether it's your family and friends or getting professional help. So I know a lot of psychologists, at least in my state, all psychologists and people that work in the mental health sector, if you can't see them face to face, they're still doing Zoom calls. And it really is just as effective. I found it to be just as effective personally. So let me know in the comments down below, how have you all been coping lately? I hope you're doing well and staying safe. And please, if you have any resources you'd like to share, I really invite you to leave them as comments down below as well. And we can just create this beautiful, supportive brainstorm of things that we can all do to help one another. And make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when I post another video, and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. I'll see you all next week with another one, and have a beautiful rest of your week. Mwah! Bye, lovelies.